And if they don't, it's not because you were rude, or you didn't know your place. It's not that.
No.
It's you holding yourself accountable and knowing your worth.
Thank you for joining us again. My name is MinnelleWilliams. I'm the Pre-Planning Funeral Director at the New Haven Funeral Center. And once again, I am joined by Monique Browne.
Hi, thank you. So my name is Monique Browne, and I'm the founder of Gateway to Change Dispute Resolution Services and also psychotherapist.
Now, we really hope that you enjoyed the first session, and our hope for doing all of these is that you can just engage with us and hopefully learn some tools, share it with others. We are here as supports and resources. So please go ahead, engage in the comments. If you have other tips, if this is supporting you, let us know. We really appreciate that.
And just sharing what works with you, because it's different strokes for different folks, right? So one might work for another versus one might not work for another, but we won't know until we share it, right? So we encourage it. We encourage you to engage with us, as you're saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So today we're going to be speaking about moving forward, and in that context, we're thinking the portion with the funeral center has now been completed. You've had the funeral, that is now complete. And even in that process, there were a lot of emotions, there were a lot of things with family that our friends or others that were involved in the planning or the execution part of the service. And now what do we do with these feelings? So let's start there. Okay, we've finished planning the funeral, we're home now, we are exhausted, tired, and we're feeling all of the emotions that we've kind of been holding because we didn't have the time to release them while planning the service. So where do we start in kind of getting the peace we need in those moments?
That's a really good question, right? And I feel that you need to start with being honest with yourself, right? Where it is that you are at, knowing where possibly these feelings are stemming from, right? Because going through the process of losing a loved one is something that won't be done from the beginning of the service to the end of the service. That's something that you will deal with for the rest of your life, right? Because and there's sayings that grief is the deepest act of love, right? And that's something that you're going to need to but you're going to experience as you move forward and connect to moving forward, because that's important. So number one, I feel that being honest with where you're at and your feelings is key. If you feel that, you know what, I don't want to talk to nobody, I need my space. It's okay. That's okay to ensure that you are speaking up for your needs in that moment in time, for you to render that feeling of solace and peace, because you need to quiet out the noise. You didn't have the chance to filter and process everything because you were in this go, right? Planning, making sure that all of the arrangements were set and put together to your loved one's liking, and dealing with families and the intricacies of that outside of the grief process is extremely challenging. And then you add on the grief process, it just makes it that much more harder, right?
So let's stay in that same thought process. Now let's say that during the funeral, you needed to, as an executor or whoever's planning the service, you wanted to honor the loved one in one way. And maybe family thought something was different, or there was a friend who had a different opinion from you. And so you had to stand your ground in what you thought was right in that time. Now the service is complete, but you still have those relationships that you have to nurture. How do you reach out? Do you need to reach out? How do you do that if it's required?
Good question. And again, it's not one that's a one-size-fits-all, right? I strongly believe that because just the nature of funeral planning and just all the emotions, once that has settled and the service is completed, it's good to take time out for yourself. So like I mentioned before, quiet out the so that you can begin to process in the way that you process things, what had just transpired, right? And within that, even if it's to reach out to a friend, a trusted confidant, that you can kind of go back and forth and banter what you've processed in your quiet time, right? And holding space for yourself, your introspection time, I should say. And work out the processes of how is it that I connect to, say, Cousin Hyacinth. Sorry, Cousin Hyacinth. But how do I reach out to Cousin Hyacinth? Because I know that she is quite fixed in her position. You know, she might come from an older generation where it doesn't matter how old you are, you're still a child to them, so they're not going to give you space to talk, and really just kind of be kind of wrong and strong sometimes in that way, right? Where it's like, I'm not hearing anything else, I'm shutting that out, this is what I wanted, this is what should have happened and it didn't happen, and I'm upset with you, right? So really speaking to your confidant, how is it that I can go about speaking to Cousin Hyacinth? Do you feel that time is probably warranted for things to kind of settle, because everything is up in the air and emotions are still quite raw? Do you feel that even if in not speaking to somebody, if you didn't have the chance to speak to somebody, journaling is super, super, super helpful. Again, it allows you to get the thoughts from out here onto something else, and it's a different experience, right? It's more of a visceral experience as you are reading and understanding and then piecing it together. Okay, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I can execute this plan in this type of way, right? Where I thought in my mind, I'm like, I just wanted it all to come out because I held it in for so long. And seeking counsel outside of the family, the close network can be more supportive than what you might think, because they're not coming from inside the storm, I like to say. They're on the periphery, they're on the side. So it's a different perspective that they hold, it's a different view and lens that they're looking through, because they don't have that connection, right? That emotional piece to it. It sounds a little bit like kind of harsh, but they don't have like a vested interest right, in the outcome. So it's just like, no, this is what it is logically, and this is, I can see the emotions that are kind of, you know, not allowing you to see through the veil of what's going on, because you're hurt, right? Or because you're frustrated and irritable because you haven't slept, you haven't ate, you haven't done anything that you did before your loved one had passed, right? And that's again part of the grieving process. So seeking counsel and someone else that is outside of the family network is definitely a suggestion, and piecing together how it is that you're going to deal with that emotion or emotions that you hold from the experience, and how are you going to bring forth that, right? How are you going to communicate that?
So one thing I do want to touch on, we're talking about moving forward, and I see this a lot with families, right? You've just gone through this process and we say, okay, I'm not doing this again.
I feel that it's important when you are, let's say, not only legacy planning, but, you know, after the service, that you have a lot of paperwork and legality aspects, so if you are the executor of the will and so forth and so on, that where you can, delegate, right? Know that you don't have to carry everything on your shoulders. Take things one step at a time. You don't have to get things all done all at once. I mean, granted, I'm saying this without knowing if there's any sort of time frame, let's say sale of the house and things of that nature. But even if that is to be presented, goes back to my first point, delegate, right? Have a support person come with you with the meetings when you're speaking to the lawyer, right? Or to assist when it comes to reading things and processing things through, before you use the DocuSign and you sign and just send away, right? Because you just want it done. You want it released off of your hands and off of your to-do list, because you have so much and you're quite overwhelmed. Honor your feelings and understand that yes, it is an overwhelming process, but make sure that you're making informed decisions while you're going through that, right? So, and like I said, it's an emotional process. It can be extremely overwhelming. So where you can, if you have a trusted confidant and you have someone close, bring them with you. You also have someone that you can process these feelings with, right? You can bring that to them as well. So it could be a counselor. It's a confidential, closed space. That's that's not going anywhere, right? So you can definitely work through that so that you can have more clarity. Reaching out into the community, right? Leaning in on faith, as we mentioned before, steeping yourself in faith and not leading with fear, which is important. Because fear is quite debilitating.
Quite.
Right? And it's a liar.
Yeah. The false evidence appearing real.
100%,
Yes.
right? And it will misguide you and it will misinform you. So,
if I can piggyback on what you're saying, I would definitely suggest leaning on supports.
yeah.
So, meaning if you were talking about closing an estate and going through that, there are supports available. Some are at a cost, some are not, but you're going to have to decide, is it worth your peace?
Absolutely.
Does it need to be done by you? So can you then take a support, do a document service, or will a lawyer support you? Can someone else help you? Closing out the house, going through all of that. Can you lean on friends to help you through that? Can you put some things off? Some things no, right? Like if you're an executor and you have to look after the dog must be looked after. You can't put that off. But there are supports where you can say, can you take the dog from me until I am ready? You know, like taking that time and really, you're right, or delegating so that you get that support. And then, so you've just gone through this, you're kind of going through, you know, an estate process, and now I know for a lot of families, for me, they're now thinking to themselves, okay, I want to do this myself, I want to get kind of some things set in place, and then you see this overwhelming list of things that need to be done, even if you want to do it for yourself. Right? So how do you prepare yourself in that transition period? We'll help you, but like, what can they do to help in that? I just went through so much, but I want to get it done, but I don't know if I can do this swing yet. How do I?
So if it's able to be, you know, delayed, put off, encourage that. Ask, do I have to get it done in a particular time frame? Or can this be done, you know, maybe 3-4 weeks from now, right? Or if it cannot, and it needs to be done within a particular time frame, then going back to that support person, bringing them with you, right, to these appointments so that they can, you know, be that extra pair of eyes for you and speak and ask questions that you might not be able to articulate at that moment in time, because we understand that you're processing and you just lost someone that is really influential and very valuable within the family network. That's completely understood. So I would definitely encourage not to go into meetings that would require a particular level of focus and understanding on your own.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially, and for us, it's a lot of seniors, you know, that are doing these things. And you talked about the DocuSign before. I've never used DocuSign before. And now you're not only going through all of this, but having to learn this new world that you've never stepped foot in. So definitely having a support. Okay, so if we don't have a support, is it a matter, if you can't take notes, like what kind of things?
And that's good too. So asking the person that you're speaking with, right, and planning with, would they're able to kind of capture certain notes for you, because let's say you learn a particular style, right, and this is how you process your learning. Or if it can be provided to you through print, so that you can, you know, take it away and digest it in the way that you know how, or even be able to, maybe you have a neighbor, right, that you are really close with, or you feel relatively safe with, to go through this paperwork with you. Or again, the community, if you're connected to like a particular faith-based community, that would be able to facilitate that. Even community centers as well, they have different support people that would be able to sift through some paperwork specifically for seniors as well. It could be just a touch of, right? So coming to you and just being able to go through the paperwork step by step so that they can understand it. And again, still being able to say, like, maybe from the onset of the intake, is there a particular way or things that you would appreciate for me to, you know, highlight for you maybe when you come to the meeting, so that it'll be easier for you in that way. So just, again, it's important to advocate for oneself. It's easier said than done. But it's so important to do, because there's options, there really is. And Google is amazing.
Absolutely. I always say at the end of every meeting where I'm meeting someone that I don't know, I ask, is there anything that I don't know to ask that I should?
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I don't know, and it's your profession,
Exactly.
so just tell me if there's something I'm missing.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And you're the expert of your own life. It doesn't matter what age you're at.
Yes, yeah.
Right? You know. No one is in your head but you, and no one is in your heart but you. So it's important to ask that question.
Yeah.
What is it that I can do to best support you while you're going through this?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. Not just assume,
Yes.
but to ask.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this session and stay tuned for the next. Thank you, Minnie.
You're welcome.
See you guys next time.
See you.